I see everyone is coming into the room right now. I'm going to allow you all to sort of get in here before I greet you. Fantastic. Good afternoon, ladies, and welcome to our NAPW eChapter meeting. I'm greeting you actually from the business center in the Richmond airport, if you can see where I am, after spending a whirlwind few days at William and Mary College in Williamsburg, Virginia, as a McLaughlin Fellow. I've actually spent the last couple of days sharing business strategies and experiences with other professionals, and have had the great joy of teaching students at both the business school and the law school. My flight's in 80 minutes, so I am truly networking on the go. But I wasn't going to miss it, and you know this is one of my favorite things I get to do with you all. With the focus of our last meeting on breast cancer awareness, we are now turning our attention to another issue that impacts women, and we're going to talk about bullying awareness. I want to thank you all again for joining us today for this extremely important topic. And also thank you for embracing our eChapter. Every time I update you, I get more and more excited. We are now more than 5,600 members, and we're still growing. And it's really all because of your continued support, and I can't thank you enough. So I want you to keep spreading the word about the power and convenience of our virtual networking eChapter to help ensure our continued growth. You want to share your experience with this fantastic virtual chapter throughout your physical chapters and among the members of your personal network. You know, I really do believe we can hit 10,000 members by the end of the year, so I want you all to keep pushing. So clearly, October is a big month on the Foundation calendar with our focus on Breast Cancer Awareness Month and bullying awareness. And our last meeting included a phenomenal panel of researchers, innovators, and survivors of breast cancer. And I hope you all had the chance to read the wonderful feature story in our latest member connections about a member who creates life-changing tattoos for other breast cancer survivors. Well, today, we're actually going to take a look at bullying awareness. And for many of us, bullying is really a thing of the past, something we left behind on the playgrounds of our childhoods. But surprising for others, it's actually a new form of abuse that plagues the workplace. Instead of physical pain or meeting somebody out back after school, workplace bullies actually cause mental anguish and emotional distress for their victims. It's a growing epidemic, and today we're going to learn how to spot it and stop it. We actually have an outstanding panel of women to talk about bullying. You'll learn more from them shortly. You'll also meet 3 outstanding VIP members in our VIP Spotlight segment. And clearly, they are all inspiring in their own way. I can't wait to hear their stories of success. One last thing before I turn our meeting over to Louise. Please be sure to participate in our polls that will appear throughout the meeting. I really love this interactive aspect of the eChapter meetings because it gives us some great insight on our attendees and their thoughts on some very important topics. They also let us know what you're looking for in an eChapter. So, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Louise Newsom, the president of our New York City chapter and NAPW's National Director of Local Chapters. I'm going to close the computer, turn on my mobile phone so that I can continue to follow and participate in the eChapter, but I'm going to go through security, and the next time you see me, I'll be on the other end of the airport. Yeah, this is how real professional women work. Louise, you and your team go ahead and spear this eChapter.
Thank you, Star. And welcome NAPW members to our NAPW eChapter, which continues to go pink through the end of October in recognition of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Since we launched the eChapter in early September, we have seen the eChapter grow to, as Star just mentioned, nearly 6,000 members in just 2 short months. Also, the engagement at our eChapter events and on the eChapter activity wall tells us that this platform is a hit and has become an integral part of the member benefits NAPW provides. The eChapter has enabled all our members of NAPW to be part of a networking community, especially for those who do not have a local chapter in their area. I welcome all the attendees and feel blessed to have had this opportunity to program and host NAPW's National eChapter. Over the past 2 months, when seeking our VIP spotlights and panelists, it makes me proud to see the diversity of NAPW, and I'm honored to be a part of this unique network of amazing women. At our eChapter events, we encourage you to be connecting with your fellow members and, of course, asking questions along the way. You will see the chat bar on the right side of the screen, and if you want to specifically ask a question today, please click the little arrow on the chat box icon where you type and click Ask a Question. This will highlight your questions and enable me to bring you into the conversation with our panelists today. We also have on the line today some additional corporate moderators to assist you or just chat with you along the way. They are Talia Cardiello, the Director of Membership Services, who you'll see chatting along with you today throughout the event. Sam Picconi, the local chapter manager, who will do her best to offer any technical support if needed. And Kim Brown, National Director at Editorial and Communications, who will be inviting and encouraging you to chat with each other and ask questions to share with our panel. Please understand that we might not have time to go through all the questions today and appreciate your patience and understanding. You will also see several times during the event a poll pop up on your screen. Please take a few minutes to answer the questions, as we will share the results during the panel discussion. Actually, I see a poll actually went up and you guys have answered it already, so I think we're just going to read this one out and so that we give an example of what this is. So the question was, compared to 20 years ago, do you feel that women who work full-time and have children currently are perceived by employers as more capable employees, perceived by employers as less capable employees, perceived by employers as the same as 20 years ago, or not sure? So 37% of our attendees today say they're perceived by employees as more capable, is perceived by employers as more capable employees. And 20% of our attendees weren't sure. So 38% recognize that. So we will continue with the poll questions throughout the conversation today, so please take a moment to answer those. Also, post-event, there'll be a short survey sent out with the recorded version of today's event. Please take a few minutes to fill this out. Your feedback is very important to us. The agenda for our event today is that we'll be showcasing 3 VIP member spotlights before we invite our panelists on to raise awareness around the unfortunate but very real issue of bullying and harassment, if it be at home, school, or in the workplace. So for our first spotlight today, I would like to introduce Jasenia Moreno, who is the Director of Staffing Solutions at Albion Staffing. She is a multidisciplined professional with diverse experience in areas of recruitment and retention management functions for large global organizations. Jasenia is a seasoned staff recruiter, successful at sourcing, attracting and hiring individuals and teams to produce optimum bottom line performance in pursuit of an organization's goals. She is also a long-standing NAPW chapter president of Coral Gables local chapter in Florida. Jasenia, are you there? Can you come on the screen and unmute yourself?
Hello, ladies.
Welcome, Jasenia. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, ladies, and thank you for joining us today on our webinar. I'd like to start off discussing a little bit about the employment market and a couple of topics that are really hot right now. The market right now is hot with our clients, and a lot of our clients do not have time nor the desire to recruit their own talent. Specifically in the human resources area, the last few years have been running on fumes and very short-staffed. This is where services like ours come in. We play a role as an extension to our clients' team. They entrust me and my team to provide top talent that will shape the future and earnings of their organization. It's about trust and true partnership that allows this to happen. We've been working on some polls and on the talent side specifically with compensation. And myself and my team worked relentlessly towards the equal work for equal pay. Though the gender pay gap has barely budged in a decade, they say the gap will not close in more than 100 years. If we all work together and focus narrowing the gap in our own markets, we can absolutely get to where we need to be. Did you know that in 2014, women working full-time in the U.S. typically were paid just 79% of what men were paid? That is a gap of 21%. The gap has narrowed since the 1970s, and this is due largely to women's progress in education and work participation, networking, as well as no raises in a slower rate. The pay gap does not appear likely that it's going to go away anytime soon, but we are firm believers that if we all work together on this common goal within our industries and markets, you not only grow your business, educate you on what is going on in the employment market, but also help you grow your career. With offices nationwide, I can help define your career path and guide you through your search. I have over 18 years experience in executive recruiting, and I can assist you with accounting, banking, executive, finance, and administrative openings. We offer different options for the candidate workforce, so you can choose contract, direct hire employment, representing some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies in the world. I want to be the career source that you choose. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Jasenia. For our next VIP spotlight, I want to introduce Wendy Hatton, a business and sales coach at CompassionateSales.com. With a master's in music from the Peabody Conservatory at Johns Hopkins University and a bachelor degree from the University of Maryland in College Park, her skills and areas of expertise include individual and group business coaching, speaking, sales training, and consulting, with a certification from Eric Lofholm International, a multi-million-dollar sales training organization. She is also the co-host of the blog talk show Sky's the Limit Radio and creator of a digital magazine on the Apple newsstand, Life Harmony Magazine. Welcome, Wendy.
Hello. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. Are you passionate about what you do in your business and want to make a difference in the world? But when it comes to the selling piece, are you stuck because you think you'll come across as being pushy or salesy? Well, my name is Wendy Hatton at CompassionateSales.com, and I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way at all. We at Compassionate Sales are changing the way the world sells. Compassionate selling is different. It allows you to come from a place of honesty, integrity, and compassion. In these few short minutes, I'm going to share with you the 3 most important ways that you can become a master at compassionate selling. It's through your inner game, your outer game, and action. First, your inner game is so important in the selling process. It involves your beliefs, your confidence, your self-worth, your conviction that your service or product is the absolute best that there is to help people and transform lives. And one of the ways I work with entrepreneurs in this area is first by helping them align their values with a compassionate-based sales process, and by teaching them that selling equals service. And it's not about a hard sell, it's about a heart sell. And once all of that is embedded in your subconscious, then success will be yours. The second way to master compassionate selling is through the outer game. And this has to do with the tools, the strategies, the how-tos. It's what you say, how you say it, and when you say it. This piece of the puzzle is crucial because it can be the difference between having a successful, thriving business doing what you love, or having an expensive hobby. And the third way to master compassionate selling is through action. You can have the best mindset, the most incredible tools and strategies, but without action, nothing happens. And as your business and sales coach, you will receive my support in mastering the inner game and outer game of your business, and also in helping you remain focused and motivated to take action to achieve all of your goals so you can have the business and lifestyle you've always dreamed of but couldn't accomplish on your own. So if you resonated with anything that I've just shared with you today, you can find out more information at my website at CompassionateSales.com, where you can register for my free e-course kit entitled 5 Key Strategies that will get you all the clients you want. And finally, I want you all to know that whatever you strive for in life, you have greatness inside of you, and I believe in your success. Thank you so much. This is Wendy Hatton with CompassionateSales.com.
Thank you, Wendy. Last but not least, Susan Welt is a professional engineer, and her skills and areas of expertise include vapor intrusion and manufactured gas, community relations, and stakeholder negotiations. Her professional title is Senior Engineer at GeoSyntech Consultants, which specializes in consulting and engineering services related to the environment, natural resources, and civil infrastructure. Susan received a Master's in Public Health from the University of Rochester School of Medicine and a Master of Science in Environmental Engineering from Cornell University. Susan, welcome.
Thank you, Louise. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad to be here. As mentioned, I'm a professional environmental engineer with a Master in Public Health. What does this all mean, though? Why do I do what I do, and how did I get here? I know it's a strange combination. When I was a little girl, I loved space and wanted to be an astronaut. I even wanted to go to space camp, but I was a girl, and those things weren't that common. My love and interest in space never waned, though. I'm still intrigued by what is out there, and so when I decided to go to college, I wanted to work in space, to clean up space pollution. But then those intro mechanical engineering classes started, and I realized I did not like solid mechanics. Not at all. And the thought of 4 years of these space courses before I could study space was quite disheartening. Thank goodness for an Introduction to Environmental Engineering course. A great professor, a woman engineer no less, engaging teaching assistant, hands-on field assignments. I was hooked. So after a dual degree undergrad and a Master of Science in Environmental Engineering, I realized I didn't want to just design environmental remedies. Rather, I wanted to understand why they were necessary. Understand why we need to do certain things. How will a remedy protect public health? How do we talk with the community to have them understand what's happening? I got my Master in Public Health with an emphasis in epidemiology and risk communication to address this need. Now I was ready to negotiate with stakeholders to figure out what we should focus on, how we can make a difference in our environment while protecting our health and that of our future. I know, sounds perfect, right? Now I'm saving the world. Okay, as you can guess, it hasn't been that way. It's not that easy. My education and career has come with its challenges, as all of ours, and we'll be talking about that, I'm sure, a little bit later today. Being the only girl in classes, having to work harder to prove myself, and even if I got the best grades on tests, I may not have gotten the highest grades in classes, not being treated as a secretary, even now as a professional, and being told I had to answer the phone because I had breasts, deal with people looking at my body no matter what I wore, and not listening to a word I said, the men thinking that I got to this position because I didn't work for it. That's right, I slept my way to the top or something. Men surprised that I actually can control a room with my knowledge and even with a pretty face. And now as a mother, how to find balance between work and my 17-month-old son's needs. Yes, these are challenges, but so what? We all have them. Even the men, right? I may have had to work harder, put in more hours, make sure my point was heard, which may mean speaking louder and being at the table, body language and voice, not a wallflower. I may have had to talk over men and had them think I was bossy, but I've only had to do this when necessary. Listening is key, watching the interactions occur, being engaged but silent. It's been like a chess game, always keeping my goals in mind, and although it may have taken a little longer and require a little more work, I know I'll get there. I've learned to show all those who have tried to keep me down, who have thrown those obstacles my way, that I can do it, that I will achieve my goals, that I can have it all. And if it ever seems tough, I remember my grandfather's words, keep smiling, it confuses the enemy. So I'm a female professional engineer who cleans up hazardous waste sites around the world to protect public health. I help my clients develop an overall strategy for their portfolio of sites and work with them to have all stakeholders understand by developing and initiating community relations programs. I'm successful because I can see the difference I have made in the environment and by my interactions with the surrounding community. I have made barren land into a resource, and I know that it's safe for a smile. Thank you, Louise.
Thank you, Susan. Actually, I just want to add in Ruby, one of our attendees, has just asked here, how do employers still get away with paying women less than men? Well, I think that's a whole other eChapter, and we will certainly come around and talk about that at a later date. But thank you, Susan, and thank you to all our VIP spotlights. As I mentioned earlier, NAPW goes pink for the month of October in recognition of breast cancer awareness. But also during this month, it's bullying awareness on the NAPW Foundation calendar. Our eChapter event today with a panel discussion raising awareness around bullying with 3 amazing VIP members in the field of human resources, psychiatry, and advocacy. I'd first like to introduce Cassandra Ewing. Cassandra Ewing actually is a wonderful VIP member who stepped in to replace Dawn Caciotti, who unfortunately couldn't make it today. Cassandra, who currently resides in Centerton, Arkansas, is the Managing Director of CME Retail Solutions, LLC, a consulting firm specializing in business strategy, new product launches, and brand creation, implemented across numerous retailers, providing clients with increased sales and ROI of their products. Throughout her career, Cassandra has earned many professional awards, including Walmart Buyer of the Year 4 times, Walmart Buyer of the Quarter 6 times, and Walmart Department of the Year Strategy Award, Professional Candy Buyer of the Year 2002. Buyer of the Year award recipients are honored by achieving sales, profit, and turn goals in turn goals in conjunction with the collaboration internally with cross-functional team members as well as externally with the supplier partners. During her 22 years from 1990 to 2014 at Walmart, Cassandra collaborated with many of the top global CPG companies as well as participated in many initiatives such as South Africa's integration, global training and development, supplier onboarding, and complete category oversight. She earned a BS in Business Administration from the University of Arkansas. Cassandra is a member of the Network of Executive Women, currently serving on the program subcommittee and a recently appointed chapter president of the NAPW Rogers, Arkansas local chapter. Welcome, Cassandra. You can come online and unmute yourself. I'm so glad you could join us today and replaced Dawn last minute.
Thank you very much for asking me.
Yes, wonderful to have you here. Our next panelist is Dawn Camilla Brown, MD, and is a diplomat of the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology and the American Board of Medical Specialists, is board certified in both child and adolescent psychiatry and general adult psychiatry. She is the owner, CEO, and sole practitioner of ADHD Wellness Center and has 2 private practices locations in Texas, in the Woodlands and Houston. She was most recently awarded as top psychiatrist by the International Association of Healthcare Professionals and the 2015 Best of Spring Texas Award in the psychiatrist category. Dr. Brown is originally from Michigan. She graduated with honors from Xavier University of Louisiana and received a BS degree in biology pre-medicine. She earned her doctorate and completed her residency in general psychiatry at St. Louis University School of Medicine. Dr. Brown furthered her education by completing a fellowship in child and adolescent psychiatry at the Menninger Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at the Baylor College of Medicine. Welcome, Dawn. You would like to come on the camera and unmute yourself. Wonderful to have you here today, Dawn. Welcome to the panel. And our third, but not last but not least panelist is Tracy Rampley. Tracy is a columnist for the Women's Voice magazine, Women's Voice Media LLC. Women's Voice magazine is a unique all-column format new media website and community for men and women featuring columnists and contributors on topics ranging from home, family, lifestyle, politics, economy, digital impact, and community. Women's Voice magazine was honored with the 2014 New Media Award Standard of Excellence for the lifestyle category from the New Media Institute headquartered in New York. Tracy Rampley is one of those people. She gets involved. She puts her time, money, and effort where she hopes it will do the best and good for others. That being said, she is an angel ambassador for Angels and Doves Anti-Bullying Program, a nationwide non-profit anti-bullying charity headquartered in Indianapolis, Indiana. Tracy, can we have you come on screen and unmute yourself?
Hi.
Hi, Tracy. Wonderful. Okay, welcome, ladies. It's truly a pleasure and an honor to have you here today at our eChapter event and to take the time to come and share some very valuable information with our attendees. As we open up our discussion today, I'd like us to be thinking about 3 areas of focus: policy, support, and advocacy. Anti-harassment and anti-bullying laws vary from country to country. The types of behaviors that are deemed illegal harassment or bullying can differ substantially even when laws use similar terms. Some countries view harassment as a workplace safety issue. Some countries impose criminal sanctions on harassers. And some countries explicitly require that employers have a program to prevent discrimination and harassment. Cassandra, as a professional who has gone through extensive human resource training for the last 22 years at Walmart, can you explain to us how you think we handle this issue in the United States?
So in the U.S. in particular, I just looked up some statistics, and about 56% of the U.S. companies do not have a bullying policy. They actually take, instead of having a separate bullying policy, they actually umbrella it under other policies such as a hostile workplace environment or harassment policy. So I think it's important to understand that bullying may be under the umbrella of other things, but you know that in particular might be different than all the other things, and probably needs a separate policy written on it. From what I've seen with my experience, I've dealt with hundreds and hundreds of CPG or consumer packaged goods suppliers or manufacturers, and most of them, from large to small, P&G to the small supplier on the corner, all of them handle it differently. Depends on how much they have at stake or how much they have to lose. So how I see it is the larger suppliers actually do more about bullying, harassment, etc., than the smaller suppliers do. But you know, it's pretty prevalent, especially when only 50% of the U.S. Companies actually have a policy at all in place.
That's interesting. So it's not a legal issue for a company. They don't have to have a policy in place. That's what you're saying?
Yes. No, it's not a legal issue. They don't have to have a policy.
Interesting. You'd think with, you know, the way that litigation is in this country, that companies would want to protect themselves against this.
And I think that's where the difference comes between the larger companies and the smaller companies. What do they have at stake? How many associates or employees do they have? And I think that's where it all comes in. So if in Northwest Arkansas, where I'm from, where the Walmart headquarters is, you can go to a giant office like Procter & Gamble or a very small office with 3 or 4 people, and you can just feel the culture and how things are different and how things are handled different. You know, whether there's women or men involved, it doesn't matter. It just feels different.
That's true. I mean, it definitely would be, it would diversify from state to state, and depending on the culture and how those things are handled and respected. So Dawn, I want to ask you, as a psychiatrist working with children, adolescents and adults, what effects do you see in your patients that have been exposed to such harassment? You know, if it be at home or in school or in the workplace, and how do you assist your patients to be able to heal from the trauma, however big or small? Dawn, we actually can't hear you. Your sound's gone off completely. In the meantime, what we'll do is, while you're trying to figure out your sound, Dawn, we'll go to Tracy. And Tracy, I'll ask you, so you shared with me that you were a victim of bullying during your childhood. Did you have the resources and support available to you at the time? And also, because of this experience, was it pivotal for you to becoming an angel ambassador at Angels and Doves?
When I was a child, of course, you know, it was kind of swept under the rug. There was no programs put in place at the schools, and you know, it was a tough time growing up, being a child of a single parent. And you know, when you didn't have a lot, it was tough. It was tough going to school, being that odd man out. And we had, the only recourse you had was my mother calling their parents. So there were no resources for us that back in the day that we do have now. And I so wish that they would be, you know, I wish every school would implement these you know, this program that I'm backing, the Angel Ambassador. You know, I'm the Angel Ambassador for Angels and Doves. It's, you know, they come into the schools, they teach from the ground up. They start at kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. They deal with the bully and the bullied. So it's a program dealing with the psychology of a bad situation. And the pivotal point for me was actually when my son was bullied, when he was in middle school, and you know, there was nothing to help him, and that was just about 5 or 6 years ago. You know, it's when it was really coming on strong, and it went from being pushed around at school to on the computer, cyberbullying. I mean, it was so bad that, again, as a mother, I had to go around and speak to every parent that took place, you know, that their child had a part in this. So it was that was the pivotal point for me, and it's unfortunate that any of that had to happen, but it did. You know, but now we have the resources so that it doesn't have to take place. Every child deserves a bully-free zone to go to school in.
Dawn, if you want to unmute yourself, and let's see if we can get your sound back. Can we hear you? No, we can't hear you. This is very unfortunate. You know, maybe you could take yourself off camera and mute yourself and have a chat with Karen, who can maybe assist you with the technical issue. So in the meantime, though, Tracy, you know, I just want to talk a little bit more about the fact that, you know, when we start with this issue with children, I mean, you know, we know that we have all these policies and things that we want to put in place in the workplace. We understand from Cassandra that it's not a law that you have to have these policies in place. So, you know, as we create more awareness around this topic, and certainly in schools is the place to start. So with your organization, Angels and Doves, I mean, what's some key things that are done to educate children so that we hope one day that we really don't have to even deal with this in the workplace, because we can eradicate it because we start with the children?
We, you know, they go to come into the schools and show, it's almost like a role play, to show the children who probably, you know, most of them aren't aware that what they're doing is bullying, because either they've been bullied and they think it's normal, or, you know, they see it on a day-to-day basis and go with it. They come into the school, they speak to the children, they role play, they show them exactly, you know, when this happens, this makes a child feel, you know, embarrassed, or it hurts them, and, you know, it teaches them how to deal with the stress at hand and the things that are going on that they, you know, that they don't know how to deal with it, so they succumb to the bullying, and the bully doesn't know how to not be a bully. They take care, you know, they show them how to vent their frustrations other ways. So it's this organization comes in and it helps. Like I said, it helps both. It helps the bully and the bullied, and, you know, we're in several different schools, but you know, we want to have it in every school nationwide. Which,
of course, that would be the goal, and certainly with a program like yours. Now, Dawn, do we have you back?
Yes.
Dawn?
Can you hear me?
I can. Wonderful. So let's move along with the question I had for you. So, you know, I was asking you if, with working with children and adolescents and adults, what effects you see in your patients, and who have been exposed to such harassment, if it be at home, school, or in the workplace, and how you assist your patients to be able to heal from the trauma, however big or small. Dawn, did we lose you?
Actually, as a psychiatrist, standard of care is that we approach each. Oh no, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. As a psychiatrist, we approach individual that I see with a biopsychosocial approach. There's psychological factors and social factors. And what I find to be true is that it totally increases the likelihood of a treatment plan, an appropriate treatment plan. The physical symptoms that I often see in my practice, some examples would be related with stress, including headaches, stomach aches, changes in appetite and sleep. And so those are some of the main physical symptoms. When you consider the results, many they present with sadness, trouble sleeping, loneliness, helplessness, and they feel quite isolated. And considering the behavioral effects, victims of bullying may actually avoid going to school or work. They actually result in having decline in academic functioning, getting to work or arriving tardy to work or school. And so it's very important that we evaluate these symptoms, because the statistics actually tell us that children who are bullied actually have higher rates of depression and anxiety. And unfortunately, many children, this increases their risk factor of developing suicidal thoughts. Teenagers who are bullied are at greater risk of engaging in impulsive behaviors such as drinking and drug use and violence. They are also at risk of substance abuse, dropping out of school, with the adults considered as well. And victims in the workplace of bullying may suffer from reduced job performance, more absences, less work satisfaction. So why is treatment so important? Why do we treat? Well, there have been some neurological factors that have been found that hopefully I'll have an opportunity to talk to you about today. But as individuals being parents of children, it's very important that we express to them that when children present or talk and engage in conversation about them being bullied, that we actually take every situation seriously, that we encourage them to openly talk about it with someone that they feel safe and connected with, that the parent should try to gain details of what has occurred and teach the child how to respond when they're approached in uncomfortable situations. That the child might also find it helpful to stay and hang around with students who are actually supportive of their personality and who enjoy being around them. So contrary to the inclination of many parents, me as a psychiatrist, I actually advise against parents actually contacting the parents of the bully. It actually just presents a whole array of problems, and you want to make sure that your child is in safe environment and that there are professionals and authority figures that are there. So that type of conversation I would advise against. But aside from addressing bullying directly, victims of bullying may benefit from engaging activities to improve their confidence and self-esteem. They may improve or build friendships and improve their social skills. In regards to adults, it addresses when it occurs when people do not speak to me, and that's when, as adults, when a bully is approached, I often obtain and meet people where they are when they've been bullied. And so for certain individuals who have psychological strengths, I actually encourage them to tell the bully not to speak directly to them, to not give them permission to speak to them, that they're engaging them with a sense of cohesion and a sense of not in a professional manner, and that they expect the same level of respect. Most bullies bully because they can. And so it's very important that if a person doesn't feel comfortable with approaching a bully, that they do seek out those support systems in their environment, workplaces that can support and help them.
Yeah, you know, Becky, one of our attendees, says that most bullying is prevalent when authority is not present, and many children and some adults may be embarrassed to mention the situation. Dawn, you know, I'm sure that's something that you're very aware of and that you see with patients that you treat.
Quite aware, and I even get that self-perception when coming to a psychiatrist's office. I mean, unfortunately, there's a stigma that's created in mental health that I'm actually a part of trying to dispel the myths of psychiatry and destigmatize, where people do feel comfortable in coming to at least professionals and exposing or talking about their experiences and how this has made them feel, how it's influenced them as a professional, how it's affected or had a negative impact on their relationships and their trust and their self-worth, so that we together can work coherently and make sure that appropriate management is there, because it can have some very grim results if this is not identified and therefore managed appropriately.
Thank you, Dawn. I just want to say that one of our attendees too also asked the question, what is the difference between a hostile work environment and bullying? Cassandra, you know, since you're somebody who worked for a very, very large organization, would you be able to have some insight to that, and just from what you might have seen?
I don't know that there is a complete difference. In my mindset, I think of bullying happens younger, but absolutely bullying happens in the workplace as well, and I think we're just making it more prevalent than it was. So the difference between harassment and bullying, I don't think there is much difference. It's just being unprofessional in the workplace versus, you know, a grocery store, in school, etc. I don't believe there's a lot of difference. Right. Harassment's harassment, bullying's bullying. It's all kind of under a great big umbrella of not being appropriate, not handling yourself appropriately.
Yeah, also Kristen Lane mentions here that 1 in 5 occurrences of bullying are reported to the police. What actions can the police take to address this type of bullying? Now, again, Cassandra, you know, working for a large organization, did you ever have to get the police involved with any situation?
A couple of times we did get the police involved. You know, think about an example I'll give you is someone splitting up, a couple splitting up. And bullying happened, you know, it's not only female, it's also male, it's a variety of different issues. But somebody needing to be in the protection when they're in the workplace, because you really don't want to stop them from working, because sometimes it's really a good safe haven. I know particularly for me, and I'm going to give a personal experience, when I got a divorce, to keep my mind where it needed to be, the best place I needed to be was at work. And so I had many instances where I had associates that worked for me that, were splitting up and they were being harassed, outside, and so we definitely needed. But I hope I have a second to share a very peculiar story that happened to me today. So I had a doctor's appointment about 30 minutes from here. I drove there, and then I was supposed to meet Louise on an earlier call to kind of go over what we needed to do today. And I just pulled out in front of a car. He came out of nowhere to me. He was in a car. It was a convertible. He got right in front of me. He stepped on his brakes. He tried to get me to hit him. And then I just got over in the other lane, and I thought, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to show him anything because he's, giving me hand gestures. Well, he kept doing it to a lot of people on the road. So I pulled over. I honestly was later to talking to Louise. I pulled over, and I called the police department, and I just said he's a reckless driver, and he's harassing people on the street. And I don't know if I would have done that if I hadn't had this in my thought process. So, I mean, it happens everywhere, in the workplace, outside the workplace, and I think you just gotta be a good citizen of people.
Absolutely. There was a poll that went up, and the attendees did answer it. The poll question was, how would you categorize workplace bullying? A, verbal abuse, teasing. B, people who prevent co-workers from getting work done. C, excluding someone from the work-related events. D, unreasonable work demands. E, sexual harassment. F, all of the above. Most of the people on this call chose F as all of the above. So it's true. I mean, this is very diverse. It's not one particular thing. It's many things that are categorized as harassment or bullying. Cassandra, I mean, how important is a well-written policy and training program within an organization or corporation as a key component towards prevention? And do these policies differ depending on the size of a company and or if it is a private or public entity?
Sure. It's absolutely vital to have a written policy. I mean, some people don't understand unless it's written, what the guidelines are that they need to follow. So at Walmart in particular, after 22 years, I went through this a couple of times a year. They have a policy called the Statement of Ethics. And anybody that's been around Walmart understands the Statement of Ethics. It's several pages long. It's very detailed, and they continue to update it. Just depends on what's going on in the workplace and environment. They have 1.4 million associates across the world, and you have to read it. You need to sign it, and you take an e-module and confirm that you've done so that they understand that you've participated. In addition to that, you actually take a test during the module, and if you don't pass the test, you actually have to retake it again. So, I mean, I've known people that weren't paying attention, just made the e-module go, and they had to take it 4 or 5 times. So, it's big companies take those things seriously. And my experience is the larger the company, the more they have at risk for lawsuits, legal issues, the more that they actually put behind their policies and procedures. That doesn't mean small companies don't. But just in general, the more you've got to lose, the more you generally put things in place.
Well, and also it affects productivity in any company if you're dealing with this, and also, the possibility of losing a very good employer through this situation. I mean, so companies should really be taking this very seriously across the board. Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, in very large companies, Louise, I mean, we all talk about corporate politics. I mean, in my mind, that's harassment, it's bullying, because you're taking a group of people, or a group of people is segmenting another group of people and not involving them, which, is harassment in a way. Maybe it's because of their beliefs, the way they look, etc. But at the end of the day, it makes the person that is excluded feel bad and not feel, warm and inviting into an organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Tracy, how does an organization like Angels and Doves step in to assist? Do you touch on all the points of policy support and advocacy? And if so, how?
We touch on the points of, actually, it's like a school district's policy. You have to abide by what they have set forth. And, most all schools have the policy for, what's accepted and what's not accepted. But getting them to, we try to advocate for them to put, really put these policies into play. You can have a policy wherever you go, but if you don't implement that policy, then there's, it's just as if you don't have one. So Angels and Doves, that's what we're trying to do, is to step in and see that all children have a bully-free zone to go to school in, because bullying carries over into your adulthood. If you think about it, when you're bullied as a child, I believe, as a woman, I know I was bullied as a child, and I have carried it over into my relationships. That I take more than I probably normally would have, because my self-esteem was tagged. My self-worth was questioned, and I think a lot of times I've taken things as a woman that I probably wouldn't have had I had a bully-free zone to go to school in.
Well, our attendees feel the same. With our poll question, we have: how important do you think education about prevention and intervention for children at a young age is in dealing with future bullying? 76% of our attendees say extremely important. So absolutely, I mean, it's a no-brainer, really. Also, based on the effects of trauma, that you talk about, Tracy. Dawn, I'm going to bring you in here to ask. Julie Roger asks, what about counseling to help those who have been bullied? Where would you recommend people looking for counseling?
I actually, my main focus is medication management, but I actually work very close with colleagues and talk very, often with therapists of my patients. And so I typically refer to a counselor who either specializes with this type of practice and actually caters to different psychosocial developmental or ages. And so I often recommend therapy. But there has been, as of late, a lot of clinical studies that have been done. And we actually see that there's a lot of what we call genetic predisposition. So what are the genetic factors that would lead a person to being bullied? What are the brain structures that are different in those who are bullied and those who are not? What are the hormonal responses when a person's being bullied? So there's a hormone called cortisol, which is a stress hormone. So medicine actually can potentially be recommended depending on the severity of the case. And so when a person comes in and they can't sleep, they're not eating, they're isolating themselves, they're not taking care of themselves regarding their activities of daily functioning, it's very important that we treat quite rapidly, immediately, so that they don't tend to decompensate even further. So it actually is a holistic approach if we can involve schools, and we can involve counselors, and we can involve potentially psychiatrists to get involved and make sure that a person is safe and functioning at their optimal levels.
Thank you. So before I invite Star back on to ask you all a question, I just want to ask this of all of you and see if you all have a comment about this. But, as a women's organization, I feel like this is an important question to ask. And if we see harassment occurring more towards women or men, and does it differ from childhood through to adulthood? So I think, Dawn, we can start with you as somebody who is dealing with all ages.
Yes, I actually going to give you a professional opinion. I believe I'll openly admit my personal opinion can be different. But professionally, I feel that I love being a part of organizations such as NAPW because we're professional women. And if you consider that workplace bullying is 4 times more common than sexual harassment and racial discrimination, if you consider that 52% of women who have reported bullying in some format at the workplace, then yes, organizations such as ours, we need to have this avenue of discussing this. And I feel that it's very important for organizations, not necessarily to get into the details if they're being bullied by certain individuals or if they were bullied as a child, but basically validate them, validate their experience, knowing that it is very likely that many of our members have experienced bullying and could be that form of support to someone who's actually opening up. Also support them. Speaking up, you know, if you see bullying in the workplace, don't be afraid to speak up and support that person, and also identify the appropriate roles so that it can be eliminated. I think that as a professional organization, we should also be mindful that we need to refer to professional people or individuals who are clinically trained and actually can assess why this is happening, how extent, to what extent, what severity, because there's a lot of factors to consider when people are being bullied. So you want to make sure that it's handled in a very cautious, supportive, and they're validated.
Thank you. Tracy, I mean, you're around, as you said, K through 12th grade, and so you're with, you know, young children up to adolescents. So do you see that it's generally a girl or a boy issue, or a young woman or a young man's issue, or is it just across the board?
I think it's just across the board. I think that, you know, lines are crossed. You know, all it takes is for maybe a girl to break up with a boy, and then he has it in for her, or vice versa. And then I think that there are economic issues that bring on bullying, and it doesn't, you know, it can be girl, girl, boy, boy. But I think all encompassing, it's across the board.
You know, we asked a poll question, if you're being constantly bullied at work by a person in a higher position, who do you go to resolve the problem? Most of the attendees on our call said that they would go to their HR manager. Cassandra, do you have any insight to that?
Absolutely. Actually, part of the statement of ethics policy actually walks you through what you do and who you go to, and it's a very, you know, stair-step approach. You go to their manager or HR. And then the wonderful thing about that organization, Walmart, is they also have an 800 number. You can call in anonymously if you do, you know, if you think that you're going to have retaliation, which is against company policy. But if you think any of that's going to happen, or you're just afraid, you can call in anonymously, leave anonymous, and you know, they handle those reoccurringly. So I've been called in the office many times that said, I got this from, you know, from the Resources for Living hotline or the Statement of Ethics hotline of this issue. Do you know about it? So, you know, they get witnesses, they ask around. So, yeah, it's very important to have that.
For our final poll that went up today, it was, I have witnessed bullying on the job but have not gotten involved because 15% of our attendees said, I don't want to be seen as a tattletale. 36% of our attendees said, I'm not sure what legal protections are in place for those reporting it. 39% say the person who did the bullying was my own boss, and 11% said the person who did the bullying is someone I have worked with for a long time. So very interesting information. Unfortunately, we do have to wrap up. I know that Star, who loves to come on and do the final question with the panelists, is unable to. She's at the airport, as she mentioned, so there must be some connectivity issues. But I thank you very much, Tracy, Cassandra, Dawn. Information, wonderful information and insight. This is a difficult topic. Tracy, I thank you for sharing your personal experiences around this as well. Yeah, thank you, and I look forward to having you back on our eChapter very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
So we certainly covered some ground around our focus of policy, support, and advocacy, and we all appreciate and thank you for sharing such valuable information with us today, ladies. Thank you. And as we wrap up our Bullying Awareness eChapter, I'd like to thank our panelists. Cassandra, Dawn, and Tracy, and our 3 VIP member spotlights, Jasenia, Wendy, and Susan, and our nearly 700 members who registered for our event today. I would also like to thank Star for leading off our eChapter event, Talia, Sam, and Kim for chatting with the attendees, and Karen Slusser, National Project Director, Marketing and Communications, for assisting with all things IT today, and the NAPW team as a whole for working so hard to bring our eChapter to life. We'll be hosting the eChapter bi-weekly until the new year, following the NAPW Foundation calendar each month, just as all our local chapters do. And our next event is November 4th at noon Eastern, and is Veterans Appreciation Month on the NAPW Foundation calendar, with a salute to military women of NAPW, a discussion of the transition from veteran to professional. And Star launched our hashtag NAPW Goes Pink at the beginning of the month. We are asking members and local chapters to take pictures of themselves, their chapters, their friends and family supporting this campaign, and post on social media, and don't forget the hashtag. Corporate events coming up are the Veterans Connect Virtual Fair, running from November 1st through 15th, hosted by VetJobs, the nation's leading job site for veterans and PDN, and the nation's leading producer of diversity career fairs. NAPW National Networking Summit will be held in New York City, November 6th at the Metropolitan Pavilion from 11 till 6. I hope to see you all there, ladies.
Yes.
This is going to be a fabulous day with the Foundation Luncheon kicking off the event, supporting our 4 philanthropic partners. We have a wonderful agenda set for the day with networking, breakout sessions, a VIP cocktail hour hosted by Star, and an array of amazing speakers. Our keynote presenter this year is Judy Smith, author, television producer, and expert in crisis management and public relations, and is the founder and president of Smith & Company. And for you who didn't realize this, due to her wide-ranging, groundbreaking career, the series Scandal was created and inspired by Miss Smith herself. Please visit napw.com events page for the complete agenda and to register for these events. Also, a reminder that post eChapter, there'll be a short survey sent out with the recorded version of today's event. Please take a few minutes to fill this out. Your feedback is very important to us. I thank you all again for joining us today and encourage you all to continue the conversation on the eChapter activity wall. There is so much more to discuss and wonderful connections to be made. If you wish to find out more information on being a VIP member spotlight, presenter, or panelist, please reach out to me via email at eChapter@napw.com. I thank you all again. I thank you, ladies, and NAPW wishes you a wonderful day.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank you, Louise.
Thank you.
Yeah.